So let me start with the first question to you. As representatives of local government associations, can you provide us with an overview of the different types of municipalities that you represent in your organization? And additionally, could you elaborate on the biggest challenges that you face in the process of representing these diverse types of local government, so representing both urban and both rural local government? So I think I'm going to pass onwards to you.
Thank you. For the first time, I want to say that I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. It's my first roundtable in English, so please be kind. If I have to say something, is that in Romania we have a saying, when you have an event and it's raining outside, it means wealth and happiness. So I think it's a great start for me. So, but we have to talk about challenges. So this is not a very positive subject for me, because I have to talk about my experience in Otelec Commune. And in Otelec, we had in 2005 floods, and the whole commune was practically rebuilt with the help of Romanian state. So we are behind with all it means infrastructure, digitizations, and all kind of stuff. So for me, as a mayor of the second mandate administration, I just won this year the second administration. It's quite a challenge. We try to attract European funds. We are also with infrastructure. We have a lot of things to do, but we try to we attract funds for develop the rural area plan to give the young people land for build houses. That means that we want to develop the area, because in a rural area we have limited options. It's a little bit more tricky, if I can say that, because we want to do all the good things for infrastructure, to dump the roads, with the water and the other stuff, but we ask ourselves if in 10 years are people still there, because many young people want to go to the cities to live. We are near Timișoara, the biggest city in the west of Romania, and I listen my colleagues talking about transport, public transport, and we have also negative experience in this field, but I will talk, I think, about a little later. So I will let my colleagues to talk about it.
So thanks a lot for this first insight, and I pass the microphone on to Mr. Wichtermann. The question.
Thank you. Yeah, as my association, or the Association of Bernese Municipalities, covers the whole canton. It's not at the national level, it's at the cantonal level, and it covers all the political municipalities. It's just one type, so we don't distinguish between rural, small municipalities and big cities and so on. So the smallest municipality, which is a member of our association, by the way, we don't have a public mandate, so it's a totally private association, but we think we have a big public impact there. So the smallest municipality has 35 inhabitants right now, mostly farmers, and there's nothing else than farmland and woods. And the biggest one is the capital, Bern. Yeah, it's Bern, not Zurich. Yeah, that's the capital of the banks, or it used to be. Credit Suisse is not anymore. Yes, no, but you can see, of course, still capital Switzerland is small compared compared to Vienna, Rome, or whatever. It has 150,000 inhabitants. And we are a bilingual canton, so we have to be aware of the fact that about 20-30 of our member municipalities, they speak French. The others German. What are the main challenges in the representation? As I said, the panorama of municipalities is very wide. So it goes from this rural, small municipality with only farmers, farmland and forest, to city people who wants to have an opera house, big swimming pool halls, hockey arena. So all that kind of stuff, and these needs are very different, and that's quite a challenge to still formulate and to represent common ideas. Yes, our principle is we focus on basic functional needs of municipalities, especially organizational and financial planning and budgeting issues. We are looking for common grounds for the largest common denominator, if you want to say like that. We are trying to avoid social political issues such as culture or social welfare, because we think that's there are the ideas and needs of the different municipalities are very different. But I give you an example also how the needs can shift over time. So, for example, speed limitation at the beginning, it was an idea of urban municipalities. So don't drive more than 30 or 20 kilometers per hour in neighborhoods and so on. Nowadays, it's very popular as well in rural municipalities, and the reason is clear. Farmers are not happy either if their children are run over by speedy cars. So that shows you that our urban needs can become rural needs as well. And it means also that we can see a shift in society. We have talked about public transport, and public transport can change the world of municipalities enormously as rural areas become very accessible with new transport opportunities, and suddenly urban people live in rural areas, and that means that the needs of these municipalities change as well. Yeah, that's a few challenges we face.
Thank you for these oversights, and passing right the floor to you, Mr. Matlou. Just reiterating the question, it's about like the organization that you're representing and the challenges that you face in the process.
No, thank you very much, and good afternoon, all the protocol observed. Look, I'm honored to be here to be part of the session. South African Local Government Association is a voice of municipalities. We represent 257 municipalities with 3 categories. We've got the category A with bigger metros. There are 8 of them. And those are bigger cities with different challenges. And we have 44 districts, which is category C. But the 205 are divided also into 2. Both COPTA SALGA dealt with key issues to say we really need to identify the smaller municipalities from the other municipalities. Then we divided, I think we've got around 39 intermediate cities, which they are growing due to urbanization. Then we had 166 that are small town, but more rural. But the key one here is migration, because people move from the smaller rural municipalities to bigger ones because of economy and job opportunities, and also better life in bigger cities But transport is also key as one of the challenges that we are faced with. The rural ones, they've got service delivery issues, including the bigger ones. I mean, people can close the street if there's a service delivery protest regarding for, I mean, you know, we used to have a challenge in electricity. Currently now, we are also experiencing water challenges as key, but mostly in bigger cities. The roads also, both professors and Pauline did allude few key issues. The financial management is also one of the challenges that we are experiencing in our municipalities due to limited resources. All of us actually here, we really need to get funds to ensure that at least our municipalities are operating. But the tax, we need to change that so that municipalities are able to drive its own resources. Actually, I was saying one of the issues that we need to look at is how do we turn our municipalities to become business, not only to be providing services, but at least they break even. The other things that we are facing rural, it's the distance. I mean, municipalities are scattered, households are scattered, which is one of the key issues that we are experiencing. Urbanization is affecting all of us. And if you go to cities, you don't have accommodation, it becomes a problem. That's why the slums are growing in bigger cities, because of there's no accommodation and space is limited, because most of the land are not owned by municipalities. It's privately owned, especially closer to the cities. The key one is infrastructure and maintenance. See, the underground pipes, because of water leaks in the country, it's also one of the key challenges. I mean, municipalities should be able to collect, but they're not collecting as much as they're supposed to be. And the last one, which is also key, it's municipal data. Collecting municipal data is also key, both rurally and urban, because people move. Somebody spends 3 days there and comes back and spend another days in rural areas. It becomes also a key when you also want to do plans, because of our census comes after 10 years, but people move throughout those 10 years. So those are the key issues that are, I think they are also affecting us. The participation is also key. Community engagement is one of the challenges. I think we are now experiencing what we call construction mafias. They are hijacking public participation in most of the cities, but it's because of the challenges that we're experiencing. They saw an opportunity, and if you see an opportunity, what do? You grab it, even though it's not the right way of grabbing it, but they took that opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, let's pass on to Thomas.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry for being here again on the panel. Excuses from Thomas Weninger from the Association of Cities, who is in fact also my boss, so because he is the board director of KDZ. I'm just managing director. So KDZ is also a daughter company of the association. So I guess, and we also discussed with him the topics which he asked me to present. So greetings from him and excuses. Challenges. First to say, Austrian Association of Cities and Towns, so that's what I'm here representing now. There is a second association in Austria, the Association of Municipalities. So we have two associations representing the interests for the whole country of local governments. Both are in the constitution, so that's quite strong. We have a system of, let's say, the unitary municipalities, so they have all the same competences. We have 2,100 municipalities in a small country. It's too much, small structured. But they have all the same competences, being 50 inhabitants or Vienna we cannot count because Vienna is also state and municipalities, but to 400,000 inhabitants. And this is a little bit already something of the challenges already. So for the association, for the members of the association, which represents more than larger ones, larger municipalities, I have to say, it's the finances. So the last 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, were really discussions about finances, about fiscal equalization distributing the money, the budget between central level, state level, and local level. And for the association itself, it's always a challenge, which is our topic here. Urban and rural municipalities. There are also, it's a unitary system. There are of course different tasks and competences. So a challenge is of course that surrounding municipalities take services or use services of the central municipalities. It's not really clarified how this is financed. So there is an issue of a fair distribution of costs for especially regional tasks. One point. Second point is the cost of infrastructure. So we have this inflation, like many countries, but we have a huge issue on infrastructure and also the need of further developing infrastructure, especially in education, schools, kindergartens. We have new laws, which means that also kids from 1 year on or for 2 years on should go to kindergarten. It's a decision of the government, which is, I guess, a good one, but nevertheless, you need kindergarten, new kindergartens, and you need also the staff for it. So these costs and this setting up, especially infrastructure, especially for education, is a challenge. We have demographic change, as you also mentioned. Demographic change in the larger municipalities means they are growing. Smaller municipalities are reducing. And how is the demographic change in Austria? Cost, this is mainly migration. So costs of migration, which is also distributed differently in the country, are a challenge. Last but not least, it's climate change. It's climate change, and not just the costs related to it, but also the question how to handle it. How to be able in the next 20 years, in the next 15 years to get to zero CO2, something like that, which will be of course a challenge for the finances, but much more, do we have the capabilities to do it? Do we have the companies to make renovations? How can we adapt the laws also on the local level to further develop our housing systems? So these 4 points I wanted to mention.
Thank you very much for this first panoramic of the organizations that you are presenting, the challenges that these associations and organizations are facing. And let us dive directly into the topic of today's roundtable now. So it's about sustainable development. And I would like to ask you, what does sustainable development mean for your municipalities? And also hear what challenges you are facing in this context. I think we keep the order, so I'm passing to you already.
Well, I think when we talk about sustainable development, we talk about our common future. When we talk about interaction between rural and urban, we talk about our common future. I have an example for these days that I face in my municipality. We have a public transport operating by a private operator, which was bankrupt, and we had no public transport these days. So I had to find a quick solution. We tried to make a partnership with the municipality of Timișoara society. And we tried for like 2 years ago, but we did it only because we were in a situation emergency. So we had to find a quick solution for our students. They go to Timișoara schools. For our teachers, they came from Timișoara to our schools. So that's why I said that we don't have, or we have limited options in a rural area. So we had to make a quick solution for our budget, local budget, and make a partnership with this municipality society. They were agreed to take our students and our teachers, and the price is very, very good for them. because we are agreed to pay half of the trip. So I think sustainable development means that we have an interaction between urban and rural, but we have to they have to be agreed to help rural area, because, how I said, we have limited action. We are just a commune with 2,000 citizens, so they have to be helped. It's a challenge, and we hope we attract European funds to electric station and electric bus, but we are now implementing the project. So we hope we have a sustainable, better future.
So thank you, Ms. Fechete. So it's really also about the collaboration between urban and rural areas to secure a joint future. And now I'm passing the microphone to Mr. Wichtermann.
Thank you. Sustainable. What does sustainable development mean for municipalities? I would like to mention 5 key areas. Probably there are more, but yeah. So one is healthy structural planning, and yes, I would say that all these 5 points they go for urban, rural, and rural municipalities. The same. So healthy structural planning. Infrastructure, you mentioned infrastructure. I think that's very important for a sustainable development. And infrastructure has to meet the rest of the development. If you build a new settlement, you need dwellings, you need schoolhouses, you need a sewage system, you need roads, and so on. And so you need the whole picture. That's what I mean with a healthy structural planning. And of course, there's also a clash with the fact that more and more people are living in Switzerland, especially in urban areas. Second point, financial sustainability. I think that's very important for sustainable development. We have in Switzerland a system that you pay what you order, also as a municipality, which means that every level, every municipality has, in principle, collect taxes, and to get the money they need to pay for their infrastructure or whatever they are ordering. And I think that makes politicians and administrations very accountable. So you have to go to your community and sell them what you want to do. And third point is building trust. Trust comes with inclusion and especially with participation. If a decision is your decision, you will be happier even if you lost a referendum. So I think that's quite important for sustainability. Then 2 points you mentioned already. One is climate change. Every municipality can feel it. Cities become too hot, elderly people die in the heat, and in rural areas that become too arid in the summer and too flooded in the winter. And the last point is migration. I think it's very important for a sustainable development that we have good concepts how we handle and how we integrate migrants, and what we expect from them and what we require from them.
Thanks a lot for this overview. So handing directly to Mr. Matlou.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I will take it through SDGs. Leave no one behind. That's sustainability. So if we balance the 3 things, economic growth with social and environmental issues. So there's a game that we also play when we do SDGs. When you start, all of us will decide to take economy, but at the end, if they are all balanced, I think that's sustainable development. But the key one is that also we need to ensure that we put resilient infrastructure that is responding to climate change issues now. We are also affected by disasters along the coast, and the sea is rising also in Tebogo, we call it Tebogo, former Port Elizabeth. So we also need to address issues of poverty and inequality in the country, because it's always widening as It was also alluded in the last 2 days. But the last one that I wanted to engage is that we need to foster collaboration amongst ourselves so that we can maintain partnership and collaborate to improve the livelihoods of other people. The issues that you mentioned, healthcare is very key. SDG number 3. Without it, it means we will have a society that is not well taken care of. So the last one is that we also need to encourage land use properly and ensure that at least we balance the two, the rural and the urban, because during weekend we all want to go and spend some weekend in our rural areas, but are we having proper resources to ensure that at least we are happy when we go to rural areas? So that's how I think sustainability should also look at it, but to balance the three. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, sitting beside you is a little bit tricky for me now because when it comes to SDGs, and you go to an Austrian municipality or to a mayor, it doesn't mean much. Yeah, I have to admit. Sustainability, yes, but having the SDGs, I mean, many are not even not aware of it. Okay. Positive side, Austrian Association of Cities and Towns has prepared guidelines, so there is much there. What could we do as a municipality? Also checklists, because we see to bring it to a municipal manager or to a mayor, guidelines are not of interest, but checklists. What could the SDGs mean when you want to build a kindergarten, for example, or a new street or a public space? What could you consider which you normally don't consider? For example, so very practically oriented or very practical. For example, kindergarten. I mean, when you build a kindergarten, you don't need to consider, for example, to offer healthy food, but the SDGs can make you aware of it. So we have this approach, but it is also honestly for the municipalities then also not fully connected to the SDGs. But nevertheless, we use it and we bring the spirit. I think at least we try as a association to bring the spirit to the municipalities, mainly with checklists. So there is a pro and a contra. Two more things. In the guideline, which obviously we also supported the association to do it some years ago, we focus really on the first parts of making it aware. Yeah? We don't say you have to change everything, but make SDGs aware first in the administration, yeah, of the city, then on the political level, and then also to the in the society. So this is a step approach which we develop, and consider for further development of your strategy the SDGs. So take the SDGs as an umbrella. Some are doing it, not many. I have to admit, there are also not so many which have a strategy on municipalities. So last but not least, in Austria, municipal-owned companies play a central role in delivering services and whatever. And those municipal companies, they are, how to say, not now, but they will be obliged in future via the European Union agreed ESG and the taxonomy. It's very technical, so you don't call it SDGs, you call it ESGs, but it's similar. In making reports on ESG, sustainability reports, also further develop, how to say, their organizations. I mean, it's municipal owned, so publicly owned, but it's privately organized. And via this ESG and this taxonomy, it comes to the municipalities via the publicly owned companies. So this is the status. This is what we're doing. Pro and con.
Thanks a lot. So now we set the scene also on this topic of sustainable development and what the local perspective on this are. We saw the important role of infrastructure, having adequate levels of infrastructure, not only meeting environmental changes, climate change, but also especially the role of demographic change, migration, aging societies, and the role of finances, having adequate financial resources, but also raising awareness and trust, just to bring the threads together. And now let us dive even deeper into the topic and look at how collaboration between public and private actors can play a role in tackling these challenges also of sustainable development. And here we can keep in mind that collaborations can be of many nature. They can be horizontally between municipalities, but they can also involve other levels of government, regions, national levels. There's also the role of the European Union here as another actor, which we could consider. And we have collaboration between municipalities and organized interests such as NGOs and businesses. So do you have some examples also of good practices regarding the collaboration of these various types of actors in facing sustainable development? And I think now I'm reverting the order, or at least passing the microphone first to, to my left, to Mr. Matlou.
No, thank you very much. We started a program on SDGs. We didn't have even a budget to do it. But we didn't do it alone. We had civic society organizations. We had private, because private, they've got what you call ISO standards. And they are doing well. So we decided, let's invite people that have been in this game for quite some time, and minds are reporting on sustainability. So that's where we started, to bring them to come and share with us how are they doing it. Because local government, it's a complex sphere. We are experiencing a lot of challenges. Even others are not our mandate, but we keep on doing it. So we had civic society organizations that were also funded by different organizations like GIZ, United Nations, UNDP, UNDESA. And we brought them in one table to say, it's going to take time for us to sign collaborations. But what is it that we wanted to do for communities? Let's look at the plans that we wanted to do, and then we do it together without signing any agreements, but because we all have mandates to do, to ensure that we don't leave communities behind. So that's how we leverage resources. But others came, yes, from funders to assist us to do. But there are a lot of programs that we are doing, different partners, including internationally, EU. It's also funding some of our programs. But we are aligning the programs with key issues. One is SDG number 5, which is gender equality. I was happy because it's 3 by 2 year. At least it's 60-40. So we look at what are the issues, because when we talk about climate change, it's affecting most people in rural areas. And in our case, that most men leave the rural to go to cities. So we had to tackle and identify municipalities that are going to also benefit, but we also brought the municipalities to work with us, but leverage resources. Bear in mind, SDGs voluntarily. You're not obliged to report on it, but fostering partnership and collaboration is the only key to ensure that you do it. So we shared expertise from different organizations to come the way we're doing it here, and we have learned a lot because of collaborations, and that's how you share knowledge. It doesn't mean that things are not happening somewhere you don't know. There are other people who knows. So that's how we did it. We identified government departments, we identified universities to come and work with us because they're experts on data collection. And I'm glad I'm gonna also take University of Western Cape to focus on SDG number 16, because that's where the key is good governance and transparent, and to take it forward further. But enhancing capacity, we had that program that was, we were working, bringing experts to collect data, capacitating people, but also fostering innovation, because it's very key. The country is vast, and you can't bring everybody together like here, but throughout we're connecting visually to ensure that at least we support each other to do that, including how we balance the municipalities. We also took the 5 key big cities like City of Johannesburg, the City of Cape Town in the program. And I'm happy to say we might be the first country in the world also to report more than 10 VLR at once. When I check the UN report during the week, is that we are also having now 7 that are uploaded as voluntary local reviews. And I'm still repeating, it's voluntarily. So you're not obliged or forced to do it, but you need to identify champions also to work with you so that they are also having interest to do it. And I think one of the issues that we need to look at it, it's also how do we bring institution of higher learning to assist us to write so that we are able to package or document the work that we have done so that we can also share the methodology that we followed and how collaboration will assist us to move forward. So that's how we thought at least we can work together on that. But partnership is key because it's partnership of partners within partners in a partnership for partners to partner in a partnership of a partnership for the problem. Thank you very much.
I'm not going to try to repeat this, but hand over directly to Thomas Paul.
We don't have voluntary reports, not on the national level, not on the state level, not on the local level. Yeah, okay, but I mean, it's not so bad at all. For example, the city of Linz has a report, which is, but it's a different one, and it's not a voluntary report, which is, let's say, following the structure and so on. We have also, and when we come to collaboration, I think this is important, a kind of yeah, it's a report, but it's not presented also, which a voluntary report should be, to be presented also to United Nations and so on, where Austria tries on all 3 levels of government together to have a common report. So what is going on? What you could be related to SDGs on the different levels. And the good thing is, I think the report could be better and better structured and whatever, but nevertheless, there is a working group between central level, local level, and state level, developing these reports together. So collecting projects, because it's very project-based, so it doesn't go into indicators, but it's project-based. And that's a good thing, I think, because it brings the SDGs and it brings the sustainability together, and it's collaboration. It's really working collaboration, which I would state here. That's the first thing. Second thing, you asked for collaboration. Here in Vienna, we have the climate budget team Vienna. So the idea, small scale on district level with support of the city, involving citizens in issues of how to further develop issues concerning climate budget. I mean, it's not under the umbrella of SDGs, but it's under the umbrella of sustainability, of environmental protection, and it's collaboration with the citizens. I have just 2 or 3 projects. Another one is a small city, 10,000 inhabitants, having an SDG roadmap developed. So they really use the SDGs. It's a nice workshop, on the floor you have the SDGs, and then you together with the inhabitants, with the citizens, and politicians and the administration, you work out how do you see the future, what to do in these municipalities. SDG roadmap, Krems-Münster, for example. Also a collaboration between political level, administrative level, and citizens, civil society, where also business can contribute. And last but not least, I would like to mention that we have, since quite a long time, since before SDGs, the local Agenda 21, which is really a cooperation structure, also in smaller municipalities on a regional level, where it's where kind of participation is institutionalized. And while this very small scale, Sometimes they are organized as an association with one person, really also taking care. So having also institutionalized support. These small scale participation programs, they are going into the direction of the SDGs. So just 3 examples.
Thanks a lot. So having already collected some interesting examples, let us go over, travel to Romania. Please visit her.
Well, from this point of view, we collaborated with NGOs. For example, we equipped the school's IT laboratory. It was a successful project. We hope to have many in the future. But in Romania, the law between sector public and private public, it's not very clear. So it's a little bit complicated for public sector because, as you know, in a city hall, you have to face, you have to have great result with the human resource that you have, with finance resource that you have, and it's different. You cannot make your own team like in a sector, private sector. So I think if I had to say something about challenging, it's that to be a mayor is every day is a challenge. We have no school teaching how to be a mayor. So I have to mention that the associations of communes, municipalities, cities, it was a great help for me as a first administration mayor. So I think it's the right moment to say a big thank you to all associations for all implication that you have. So a big applause for them.
Good. Passing the floor to Mr. Wichtermann.
Going back to the question, what role does collaboration between public and private sector play in terms of sustainable development? Actually, no. If I take out the word sustainable, it wouldn't change anything. So what I'm trying to say is that collaboration between public and private sector is absolutely important anyway. So we live, or the municipalities have to live by the principle of subsidiarity anyway. So that means they should make just what private sector doesn't do or does wrongly, and that means you have to collaborate, and it's in the interest of all the municipalities anyway to collaborate in every direction. I mentioned this very small, tiny municipality in the canton of Bern, and I just checked the website before. They have, out of these 35 inhabitants, 4 people made this municipal council, and that's it. They don't have no other administration structure at all. Everything is, but they have the same tasks and competences as the capital. How do they do that? It's all done by collaboration with what the regional level, with the private sector, whatever. So that's still possible to run a municipality by just by collaboration. And I think, of course, that's an extreme situation, but it shows that yes, whether you want to go for sustainability or not, you have to collaborate.
Okay, thank you. So we saw some examples related to sustainable development more tightly, like more directly, let's say. Also the important role of providing technical knowledge by local government associations, and beyond this, just like really like this important role of public-private collaborations for municipalities in general, which I think we also touched upon over like the last sessions of the last 2 days. So actually we have 20 more minutes, and I thank you very much for answering my questions. But let us see if there's some questions from the audience also that you would like to address. Like to all four of our representatives, also like to individual ones, deepening some examples maybe. So I open the floor to you. So, please.
Yeah, thank you for this very diverse perspective and a number of thoughts shared by all of you. I have some questions, maybe they can be deliberated upon by all of you collectively. One, in terms of the carbon emission, right? So, which is a big environmental hazard for all countries concerned. I think the developing countries are facing it much more. Countries of the global south, for a variety of reasons best known to us. So I wanted to know how carbon emission problem is being handled in your respective country by the counties, by the municipalities. And second is, since we are talking about sustainable development, which has to have a global perspective, not simply nation specific, because we are living in times of global citizenship. And I was wondering, for example, when India moved from primarily an agrarian economy to industrial economy, and we went in a big way for green revolution by having high yielding, agrarian seeds provided by the United States. And with that also came the pesticides and that whole story about Monsanto and so, which in a way has affected our agrarian fields a great deal. And so to what extent the Western world, let me now bring the older binaries between Western and non-Western world, is actually looking at the way in which it partners with non-Western world on a number of projects. And because no longer are we looking at public-private complete in indigenous sense. We have the global private actors and players coming in a big way, whether it is for mining or whether it is for anything else. So I wanted to know whether in your own respective countries, you are aware and familiar about the multinationals, about the global actors, which are entering into a private-public partnership with other countries. So these were just the two questions. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Asha Sarangi, for this question. So it's about how carbon emissions programs are handled in your countries and about how, if and how there are collaborations also with other countries, also maybe from the non-Western world, if you use these categories in your cases. So is there anyone who feels like starting the discussion?
No, I can kickstart.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised that. We just launched our first Just Energy Transition Conference, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where the president addressed municipalities. Actually, we are lucky because the Minister of Energy was a mayor. So in all his engagement, he said we can't leave local government behind because everything happens at local government. So whatever we do affects communities. So there is a light, at least on the other side, to deal with what we call just energy transition in South Africa. As I alluded earlier, we had challenges with electricity, but now there's a lot of also investment that is coming throughout to assist South Africa to work on just energy transition. But bear in mind to also move from coal, it will take time and it requires proper consultation with communities because even artificial intelligence is also affecting because people think they're going to lose jobs. But you have to do what we call change management throughout, but also ensure that at least you are informing people about it. So something is happening in the country. We have done a lot now. We hope in the next 2-3 years we won't have the challenges that we had. The issue was Perhaps maybe it was man-made, the challenges that we experience with electricity, but also with how we're dealing with it. Wind turbines are also being implemented, the solar, because we've got the sun. In Northern Cape, we've got a bigger project. So we are getting there. Just we have to take time, but people are not patient. People want water, people want electricity, people want services. So we have to make sure at least that I think the key issue is communication. Talk to your constituencies more often. We are living in an era of technology. So the best thing is just to keep informing them through councillors and other structures that we are having. People will understand if you keep on informing them. But we are doing something with that program that we have started. And yes, the challenge is to access funding. Because even with the globe on climate funding, it's there. I think EU, the world put more than 100 billion some 2 years ago. But to access that money is not easy because we have to come and work together to put proposal, which is not an easy thing, especially for municipalities. It's something that we are also experiencing as a country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah?
Yeah, there were the two questions, the carbon emission issue and the the carbon emission. I mean, Vienna has a program for being climate neutral 2040. Yeah. The European Union has the objective of 2050. Okay, that's an objective. What do we do? And so what I see in cities here is it's not working now, but it's in development. It's the so-called green budgeting. So it's really different approaches, but in the end, it's going through the budget and earmark where the main carbon impact or climate impact in the budgets are, and based on that, I mean, find measures. So this is going on. I have a project now. Also just starting with Hamburg, Germany, and 3 major European Union cities on the issue of SDG and climate budgeting. So that's going on. The second one, the cooperation, it's there, but I mean, this is honestly very much going via the development aid. So you mentioned GIZ, for example, before. So there are lots of projects which also are going into the support of climate issues and exchanges. Here, I mean, what I know from Vienna, it's about the technology. So the technology which is developed here concerning, so we have to get rid of gas here, for examples, and this goes very much with solar and with wind and also with thermal energy. And these are big programs, and so it's a know-how transfer which is going on between different countries. Yeah, this is what I know in this aspect.
Thanks a lot. Looking over to my right side, would you like to? Yeah, Mr. Wichtermann?
Maybe just quickly, in Switzerland as well, many cities and municipalities, they have their carbon neutral goals, 2035 and so on. Whether they can reach these goals, that's another question. At the municipal level, there's actually quite a lot going on in terms of energy saving with centralized heating systems. Many cities invest hundreds of millions in these systems, and that's probably good. There's a law of using, for example, in my canton, if you build a new building, you have to put on photovoltaic on the roof of your, so that's mandatory stuff like that, and so on. There's a lot about that. What is a little bit dishonest, for example, we are promoting e-cars, but we don't forbid to export all the old dirty cars to Nigeria, for example. So that's one of the big problems of dishonesty of the Western world.
Thanks for these insights. So we have some more time for questions. I see 2 hands. First, I hand over to Count Kessler, and I mute myself so that there's no time.
Okay, so thanks a lot to all the panelists. That was highly interesting. So I have a question, a very specific one to Jürg Wichtermann, because you said that there are more and more urban people living in rural areas, and actually that rang a bell because we are having this joint paper that we are working on together with Martin and with Carmen about urban out-migration and how that affects also rural local governments. And what we, in those interviews that we conducted, saw was that there is, of course, different demands of these city people when they come to rural areas. I guess you alluded to that. So 2 questions in that regard. What would be the demands that you see in the canton of Bern, for example, of these city people in rural areas? Is it recreational facilities, for example, or so what are the expectations, the demands to local governments? And also, do local governments then adapt to these new demands, or is there rather a certain inertia so that they maybe also there's a certain bias towards the interests of the long-time residents? Thank you.
Good. So handing over directly to Mr. Wichtermann.
Thank you for this question. Yeah, that's actually an interesting topic, and I think COVID has boosted this development quite a lot. So we can see many people, urban people, now moving to rural areas, to the mountains and so on. And digitalization actually helps as well, so you can work from everywhere. And then these people, they live there, they maybe not all the time, but they use the infrastructure, they don't pay taxes there. Many rural touristic spots, they complain about over-tourism, and there are many hotspots. They have, there live few thousand, maybe a few hundred people during the year. They have to pay for all the infrastructure, and then on a sunny day you have 30,000 people. So that there's a high demand for an improved infrastructure. Or if they live with their families in these rural areas, they want to have another type of school, for example, a modern urban type of school. So these are some of the challenges we can see with this inverse migration. I'm not sure whether I answered all the questions, or maybe I missed.
Thank you very much. Can we pass over the microphone to Martin Horak, who had a question before?
Hi, thanks. That was very interesting. Oh, I'm loud. From my perspective, at least, one of the things that can be really powerful about the Sustainable Development Goals is that they offer a kind of new language with some force behind it to think about things that maybe municipalities have already been doing. But I would love to hear you reflect a little bit more on, I'm always interested in how this kind of language can actually shift policy. And are there any clear examples to you of things that have been done in your municipalities and the fields that you work with where you've harnessed the Sustainable Development Goals and they wouldn't have happened without them? Because I think, in many senses, we're talking about, a new language for things that are already happening. But are there ways in which, in a concrete way, these goals themselves can help to push policies along?
Thank you very much, Martin, for this question about how the Sustainable Development Goals can actually harness and impact on policy action. Who feels like starting to reply to this question? I'm passing to you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. When we start with the programs, also we get that question. But MDGs are not the new things. We are doing them every day. I mean, when we had lunch there, it was good health and well-being. Good example. When we take water, it's SDG number 6. So they've been happening. It's just you have to take time to cascade it down for people to understand. But the best way to do it is at the beginning, you start to identify things in your plan. What are they relating to? Then you explain to people. The city of Tshwane have been doing well with what we call the risk and vulnerability assessment, which you have to submit a climate change strategy, but you have to start somewhere. So they've been doing it, but not being aware that they are responding to SDG number 13 until we engage them to show them how you put it at the beginning so that you make them to understand. But also it goes back to, in South Africa, what we do as an example is that we normally talk about clean audits for municipalities and putting in reference to what she said yesterday about what we call the MASP. We took that program and say it's aligned to SDG number 16, which is stronger institutions, good governance systems that are there. Municipalities are doing it, but we have to do it at least in a proper way of ticking the box, but making a mindset. You have to change the mindset. When you tick that box, you have to say, is it aligned? This bottle is aligned to this one. But you do it with them. I think it's the same how Canada did with the aligning asset management with climate change. We also use that asset management 101 from Federation of Canadian Municipalities to cascade it down to also our municipalities, because there's a readiness scale that we use. It's also responding to climate change and asset management. So at the beginning, when we started with the program, it was confusing, but it took us at least 3 months to get to where we were with the municipalities. But it also requires a political buy-in, Madam Mayor. If it's been driven in that office, officials are going to drive it. At the beginning, there will be that resistance to say, but what are we doing here? But if you align it with what you are doing every day with the plans, it's going to be easy to do it. City of Cape Town, they also launched a data program, but they were funded by UK government until we came, but this is how we are doing it on SDG number 9. And they are now ahead of most of the municipalities. But how they managed to do it, I think as part of the baseline, the city was the first city in South Africa to report on voluntary local reviews in 2019. So we took their baseline to also learn from them and bring all the municipalities to go and see how they collect data and ensure that at least they are able to share with other cities. City of eThekwini, they've been doing it. They are along the coast. So most municipalities along the coast, because they've got different challenges, they deal it with good examples, including even the issues of urban innovation. But the issue is you need to have champions, both from politically and administratively. And don't do it alone, because you're not the subject matter expert. Bring other champions to also work with you. And I will say the program assisted us, because we are now going to launch the first inaugural urban forum in South Africa, because of the rural urban migration. We used to have IUDF, Integrated Urban Development Framework, but now we wanted to ensure that at least you are inclusive to have that. But examples are there. We just need to put them there and say, this is how we are able to do it in different. I think the other example that I can give is that on transport, we have 8 metros, but the 6 are the ones that are providing a proper transport system. And they are joined by 2 intermediate cities on their transport system. And they reported about that. So those are a good example to respond to 11.2 as part of the SDGs. But they've been doing it. The only thing is just you have to bring them on board and explain to them and take time to do it. Don't do it in a rush. Municipalities will also going to do it. But also what we did, we also exposed them to go and share with other countries and other cities to say, this is how we are learning, because every day we learn new things. But the issue that I raise is that we need profs and other people to assist us to package it, to document this work, so that we are able to do it. And I was glad when we were invited, because it's all about rural urban, and we are launching something that is going to assist us to move forward in this program. But lesson are very key for SDGs as part of the example that I can also provide. With water, it's another example, as Paulina was also alluding yesterday. So you report on it. I think one of the challenges that we're experiencing in the country was tariffs. But we have learned from other countries like in Netherlands to come and train. So capacity building is also key. Don't stop training people. The mind always requires to be sharpened most of the time, so that you learn new things. We've learned lots of things here, and we can learn amongst ourselves with key different things that we are doing. The other countries are doing well on this issue, then we learn from them. And now we don't need to travel. I mean, we can connect via Skype and show each other how things are doing, especially the secondment now. It was a good program, so we can second online and you assist us how to do things. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this. I think we have a few minutes still to maybe hear also other perspectives on how the SDGs, the language of the SDGs has helped to achieve policy change. So I see that Thomas said, okay, then.
Is it okay?
Yes, okay. We have.
Okay. No, I mean, Martin is a serious researcher, and a serious researcher asking me questions. The questions for impact.
Yeah.
And I mean, leaving the nice weather talks, this is an important issue. I think we have developed the SDGs as a framework for the whole world, and I am also frightened, and I see it, that we have, in European countries at least, we are endangered to set up a bureaucratic system with very few impact. Yeah. If you ask me now if I know something which would not have happened as a project, as a whatever in Austria, I'm very reluctant. Yeah. What I can tell you is, yes, you mentioned also the mind shift. This is something where it goes, in this direction it goes, that you have strategies which are also municipal strategies, which have the SDGs in mind. And therefore, you having also a view on aspects they maybe haven't seen before. Just this easy thing with no hunger, where the Austrians say, what is this in Austria? No hunger, we don't have hunger. Why do we do that? And then when you read and the subgoals, you see, it's also healthy, it's also food in the kindergarten and so on. Where it can, so this is something where it goes. But if there are no new projects or new, I'm very reluctant. But two things positive. For us also, what I like very much, I'm not sure if you know it, United Nations has also an issue of public administration, a department or whatever, network, public administration, and there are the principles of effective governance based on the SDGs, which I like very much. For us, subsidiarity. So governance for a country needs subsidiarity, for example, is there. Things like that. So that is something which maybe has also in future an impact. And then I want to be on the positive side, say, I think it takes longer time because it's really here a mind shift issue and goes into the strategies. That's a strategy also of cooperation, which is also part of the principles of effective governance. And one example, not from Austria, but from Hamburg, they have now a super report. Set up a report for Hamburg, for the city of Hamburg, of the SDGs. And there you see what it can change in such a huge organization, because, I mean, it's just going on, but they have the report now. It took them years to collect, to bring the different actors of the city on board. In cities like Hamburg, also Vienna, having the public companies, there are 100 we are sitting here also in one public company, so manage those companies, bring them together under the umbrella of the SDGs. That is already there, and luckily I had a talk to them, and now some weeks ago, and now now they have it, the reports. They brought them all together, to make these reports. It took, I think, 3 years, and now it's a question what to do with it now, how to really change the organization, political level, administrative level. So there's really a pro and con, but nevertheless, I'm really afraid that we go into a very bureaucratic. We have in the European Union is the EU taxonomy aspect, where we maybe in the end, in 5 years or in 10 years, see, okay, the impact is a very low one compared to the efforts we had to put in.
Thank you very much. So I'm handing directly over to Ms. Fechete.
I think in Romania, it's a little bit a new expression when we talk about the sustainable development, when we talk about SDGs. Even every one of my colleagues do it every day, try to improve the life of their citizen. We try to have quality education, or every one of this number. But it's a little bit a lack of information, if I could say. But that's why that kind of events are great, even for me. For me, I said it's an honor to be here because I'm going home with more information, with more examples, more experience for all of us. So thank you.
Thanks a lot to you. Mr. Wichtermann, do you also want to quickly react?
Very quick. Very quick. Just, I totally agree with you. One problem is that we should be aware that you mentioned Hamburg. Hamburg is a huge city. Most municipalities, at least in Switzerland, they are small. And if you tell them about SDGs, they have big eyes. So I think one of the big challenges is how can we translate these SDGs into a language they can understand and they can do something with it.
So thank you very much. I think it is the time to wrap up this roundtable discussion. So warm thanks to everyone for your contributions, for your questions from the audience, also to the online participants. And I think we definitely learned a lot, also over the last 2 days, in this last hour, and I think now it's the time to release you to the coffee break. We will be back at 4 o'clock for the closing session. Thanks a lot. It's like,